Was buying this Breitling a mistake? The answer, without any 15-minute tease, yes. Giant mistake. Before I get into it, there's a part one of this video. In that video, I talk about why I bought it, where I bought it, what I paid for it. So you want to see all that background, watch part one. So part two starts off with, I was able to bring this watch into Breitling, Detroit, and worked with an incredible lady there named Jackie. She's fantastic. Everybody that I've met at the boutique here in Troy, Michigan has been great, but Jackie is the one I worked with. In particular, she was fantastic. Shout out to her if she's watching. Basically kind of told her that a friend of mine, Christian, Bond guy, Breitling guy, told me that actually at this point, they had already had the watch sent in for service. Then Christian told me that he talked to a friend of his that works at Breitling and that they don't have the parts to service this. But at this point, it was like, we'll see what happens. It's already out there. So sure as shit, about 2-3 weeks later, I get an email from Isabella at Breitling Customer Service. Also incredible to work with. She was super nice. Regretfully informing me that they could not service this particular watch. And if you haven't seen part one, this is a Breitling Intruder Reveal, or the Pluton. I think it was later named Pluton. Didn't last very long. Now we'll get into why. So Isabella basically said what Christian's friend said, was that they don't have the parts for this. So Breitling was kind enough to offer me like up to $2,000 off of a new Breitling, but nothing against Breitling, but the watches that I did like that they have are $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. And if I were to spend that on a watch, there's a few other ones a little higher on the list, like the No Time to Die or a Speedy or an Aquaterra, or even maybe like an Air King or something like that. So it wasn't exactly the right fit at the time, but Isabella was great. Breitling service was great. She still sent this back in a nice little Breitling travel case, which I love. I love having these travel cases from different brands. As you can see, I got a lot of Omega stuff back here, loops, pens, keychains, all kinds of stuff. I like to collect stuff like that, so that was very nice. But ultimately, this is a quartz, like either Miyota, or I think this one is a Miyota, but it's like a Miyota movement, but then Pulsar kind of made the same movement, or they might just be the same period. So there's not many watches around that have this movement in it, where it's got the analog and the digital window. The problem with this is, I thought a couple times, like, well, why don't I just buy a watch that's got this movement in it? And then I heard the Rambo watch has this movement in it. Well, I was like, okay, $2,000. Like, okay, not doing that. So next stop is Watch Fred, who is a Breitling historian, I believe, has got some feelers out to a few people he knows that may be able to point me in the direction. But if not, Christian has a friend in Australia that is willing to take a look at this. So this might be on its way to Australia, and it could be a long time before I wear or see this bad boy again, based on what they do. However, one thing I am going to tell Christian, unless he sees this video beforehand, is I had the idea of, because I eventually read up on the movement, which I should have done before I even bought this fucking thing, but sorry kids, is apparently the movement like fries all the time. So when this showed up in the mail, and I got this because the jeweler, long story short, eventually sent it to me. And when this showed up in the mail, it was dead. So I went to the store, bought a battery, and it fired right up. But then the next morning, it was dead again. And I think that battery was fried because of whatever else on this movement that is fried. So I'm kind of also a little opposed to hunting down parts to fix this if it's just going to do the same thing. Say it eventually costs me $500 to fix this watch. I'd rather just, I don't know, throw it in the garbage. You know what I mean? I don't really know. So I want to kind of discuss with Christian and others that another option would be like a ghost movement. We can put, I don't care if it's quartz. I don't care if it's automatic. My thing is, it wouldn't be the worst idea to track down a movement that can fit in here and fit on this dial and just get this analog function working. I don't care at all about the digital function. I never really have. So for me, that would be a really cool thing to get done. And then also with this little analog or digital window here, say it was like one of the skeleton movements, it'd almost be like a see-through case back on the front instead of the back. I mean, and if I need to, I can fabricate like a window that kind of just looks like an off screen. Like I can make it look exactly like the way it looks here, but with an automatic movement or whatever it is, because obviously this digital window is actually part of the movement itself. This little window here is, if you take the movement out, it's just, it's right through it. There's not like a piece of glass or anything. So yeah, I guess a few different options, but that is part 2. So I'm hoping that part 3, whenever that day may come, is me wearing a fully functional Breitling that's probably been pieced together by several different people at that point. But yeah, at this point in time, this was definitely a giant mistake. But hey, it's got a nice Anchor Strap Co. sailcloth navy strap on it with a deployant clasp. I mean, it looks really sharp. I really do like it. I like the bezel. I like the dial. I like the numbers on it. They're not really big and gaudy looking. It's a little bit Navitimer feel with, a quartz digital window. I don't know. It's a bummer. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now. If you see this video and have any ideas, throw them in the comments, truly. And not ideas like throw it in the garbage or Breitling is for shady people or whatever's going around, whatever that phrase is. I don't need to hear any of that. If you have legitimate ideas on how this can be fixed, please let me know. I know there's a guy on YouTube that I follow, Wristwatch Revival. I've reached out to him, haven't heard anything back, but he's got a pretty big channel. So that would be awesome if he could fix this, or Christian's guy, or if Watch Fred gets back to me with someone he knows. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now. And hopefully part 3 tells a different story. But until then, talk to you later.